everybody? It's your boy, Dead on Dave, back once again. It's Sunday. It's your daily focus. So that means it is viewer questions day. It is a fun day. It's one of my favorite days. I absolutely love it. I love interacting with you guys. The comment section below is one of my favorite things to get a part of and read, and I enjoy seeing what you guys put in there. Now, that being said, if you comment on anything that I do, and I feel that it's in an attacking manner, if I perceive it as an attack, that it's not, complete logical thoughts and you're just calling me a racist or something like that, I'm going to put you on blast, all right? I'm going to come back on here and I'm going to respond on my channel because that is my right. I didn't contact you. You contacted me with a comment, so I can put you on blast. I can do that. If all that happens, if you commented on something that I did and then I later come back at you, do not contact me privately and cry and whine about how I ridiculed you, okay? This is Big Boy Channel, all right? This isn't Baby Network. Do not come to me and be, he ridiculed me. I don't want to hear that shit because that's insane. I don't ridicule anybody. Maybe I just ridiculed the guy who said I ridiculed him, but I don't give a crap at this point because he acted like a baby. You act like a baby, you act like a baby. You deserve all the ridicule you'll get if you act like a friggin' baby. I got unsubscribed, all this stuff because of something that happened within the comment section. It's absolutely ridiculous. That being said, I'm not a hateful guy. You can always come back and we can talk and work it out because that's what men do. That's what grown-ups do, not just men, grown-ups. You talk things out and you move on. You logically debate things. And if you got something intelligent to say about anything that I say in reviews or anything, you're more than welcome to come on here. Let me know what you want to say, and if you could talk good and all that stuff, talk well, I should say, then come on and we'll have a nice little debate. I don't have a problem with that, okay? No problem with it at all. But you're not going to attack me in the comment section and then get to play the victim after I put you on blast later. It's just not going to happen. That's ridiculous. That's what's wrong with this friggin' country. Everyone's entitled. Everyone's entitled now. But it's all good. So make sure you guys are getting involved with not only that, but getting involved with the channel. Now you can make memes, wrestling memes on Meme Gene. Just type in Meme Gene on Google, on the old Google machine, and you can make memes and you can tweet them to me on at DeadOnDaveV or on my Facebook. This guy's take on it. Please make sure that you're contacting me on Facebook there. If you find me on my regular Facebook, I probably won't add you because that's my personal Facebook with my family and close personal friends and everything. And I really have a very small circle of people that I let into that Facebook. But the Dead on Dave Productions Facebook channel, more than welcome. It's facebook.com/this guy's take on it. Don't ask why. It's an old thing, but it's okay. YouTube, Google+, you can contact me through any of those mediums, and you can send me your memes, and I'll use them in the show. You can also add me on Skype. David Vancura, DavidVancura. Add me on Skype, and you never know when you're going to get a call to be on 5 random questions or another segment if I just want to talk to someone randomly about wrestling. You never know when I'm going to call you. So if you add me on Skype, I'll add you back. Don't abuse it, and I won't delete you. It's real simple. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that, right? I mean, it's called accountability. That's what we're all about. Make sure you're also checking out everybody in the Joe Cronin, Dead on Dave, Shot from the Point universe. Tommy C has got some great stuff going on his channel. I will be on his show tonight, Shot from the Point live on Shot from the Point. A lot of fun at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We may be live. We may not be live. That's still not positive yet, so we may be taking callers if we're live. So make sure you're checking that out. If you like hockey and real talk and we say fucking shit and all of those things, and it's a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out. That's great. Also, Joe Cronin did a great job with the First Lady of Ring of Honor, Maria, and former WWE Diva, of course. She was incredible. She did about 45 minutes with Joe Cronin. Great job. I wish I could have been a part of it because of Skype limitations and stuff. The most important thing was getting her on camera because she is absolutely stunningly beautiful, of course. So getting her on camera was the most important thing. And we were afraid that with me being in Germany and both of our internets not being fantastic, that it would really degrade the quality. So we didn't want to run that risk. So I did not participate, which would have been great if I could have, because of I met her before in Iraq, and well, she probably doesn't remember that, but I met her before in Iraq, and we're both from Chicago, so it would have been kind of cool to talk to her. But it's cool. Joe did a great job. We should expect nothing less from Joe Cronin. He did a fantastic job. I brought up Tommy C earlier, and I'm going to bring him up again because Tommy C has a message, and here it is. That's right, coming soon. Shot from the Point Radio. Talk, banter, sports, politics, all kinds of different things with some badass music, real music played in between. You guys should definitely check that out when he gets that off the ground. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you're checking out everybody else too. Dave Rose, The Dark Show, went for like 5 hours the other night. Insanity. Jeff Huffman, Grand Slam 87. He's been doing videos all week. Really cool videos. Make sure you're checking all that stuff out. Everybody works really hard within this little universe we got going on in this community. And make sure you're giving some love to everybody because it's a lot of fun and everybody works hard. Tommy NC 2010, another one, works really hard. If you need your daily dose of positivity, go check him out as well. So, all right, let's get into some viewer questions. And we got some good ones. Lots of good questions. I'm very excited about them this week. And let me make this bigger so I can read. Because I got bad eyes. Okay. First question. The honor of the first question goes to Caldor, which I believe this is his first question that he has written in the comment section below. And this is a good one. And it's something I have covered before, but because it's a subject I enjoy covering, I have no problem talking about it once again. Do you think Bret Hart is overrated? I am a young wrestling fan, and I have watched some Bret Hart. The thing is, I felt that his matches are always the same. I know that he is the excellence of execution, which is completely deserved, but I don't think that he is the best wrestler there is, there was, and there ever will be. So can you tell me what you think about that? Well, those of you who have been a fan of the channel for a while know I have covered this before, but I have no problem talking about it again. I have all the respect in the world for Bret Hart. Everything he does in the ring is flawless. Everything he did was absolutely flawless. It was great. It was wonderful. No question about that. The technical aspects of his game were tighter than anybody in history. He's the greatest ring technician of all time. No question. There's no question about that. That doesn't make him the greatest wrestler of all time. Doesn't make him the greatest entertainer of all time. Very boring matches. Very always the same. Very cookie cutter. Now, he's always in the conversation, he seems to be, for when you talk about greatest matches of all time. There are quite a few Bret Hart matches, but it's not like Bret Hart versus the Brooklyn Brawler. No, it's Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, or Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog. We're talking about these bigger personalities that brought the other half of the wrestling equation to the ring that Bret didn't necessarily have. You know, in the British Bulldog's case, this immense popularity. He was just so beloved, especially their classic Intercontinental title match in Wembley. Good match, was elevated to great status because of the crowd and because of the British Bulldog's ability just to do the power moves and be a larger-than-life personality. With Stone Cold, it was quite similar, but he was that guy who was becoming red hot at the time. And he was such a tough bastard, and everybody just kind of really got in his corner when it was against Bret Hart. And then Shawn Michaels for another reason. You know, Shawn Michaels, it was because Bret and Shawn were so great. They were the two best performers in wrestling at the time. And when they went, it was just absolute magic. So there was all these reasons as to why Bret Hart constantly comes up in the greatest matches of all time, because he could always hold his own technically and always make matches look good. I do believe Bret Hart is the most overrated wrestler of all time, and I've said that before. And that's no disrespect to Bret Hart. His career is one of the greatest in history, but when I say that he's overrated. You could still be one of the greatest of all time and be overrated. I don't put Bret Hart in front of Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, maybe even The Rock. I don't put him that high. I put Triple H in front of Bret Hart. That's just a personal preference. Sting's career is right there. That's the level I put Bret Hart. The Stings. I might even throw Owen ahead of Bret Hart because I think Owen did all the things that Bret did technically perfect and proficient and efficiently. But he had the personality and the high-flying moves and the things that Bret couldn't necessarily do. So in my opinion, I think Owen is a little bit better than Bret. Is Owen as decorated as Bret? No, of course not. Bret was able to cultivate this weird thing, this aura around him, whether he was good or bad. I mean, when he was good, he was loved. When he was bad, he was so hated in America. It was amazing. So Bret Hart it's one of those things that are just so much fun to talk about. And I know that not everybody's going to agree, and that's fine. That's fine. But to answer the question, yes, I do feel he's overrated. But that does not take away from his greatness at all. Okay, Shawn Giles, right? Good question, by the way, Caldar. Great question. Shawn Giles, 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 Gillis, Shawn Gillis. I have no idea. Gillis. I don't know. He writes, so is Randy Orton ever going to return? That's a really good question. He has returned in television tapings. He has returned, or on non-televised events, excuse me. He's working live events, but he has yet to return to TV. It should happen soon. You would think that with Seth Rollins with virtually no match for WrestleMania right now, that's the perfect feud to jump right into. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. I also have a feeling that when Sheamus returns, I think that Sheamus might be joining the Authority. Don't ask me exactly why, but with the Big Show leaving, I'm assuming the Big Show's going to be leaving the Authority. He's going to be getting kicked out on Monday night, I think. Sheamus would make a good fit there, and Triple H and Sheamus enjoy working together, and heel Sheamus is a lot of fun. With that being the case, there's really not a need to have Seth Rollins continue to be a part of the Authority. This could be the perfect time to turn him face, which has always been the ultimate goal with Seth Rollins, because he's always been seen as the guy who's going to be the face. I think that was part of the reason why he busted out the Phoenix Splash, or as I like to refer to it, the Ark of God, in that unbelievable triple threat match at the Royal Rumble. Because I believe when he does go face, that is going to be his finisher, because it's so good. The Ark of God, as I like to call it, is one of the most amazing moves I've ever seen. That Phoenix Splash is incredible. It's unreal. It's really good. So look for Randy Orton to return possibly as early as this Monday, but certainly no later than next Monday or at the Fastlane pay-per-view itself. That's what I'm thinking. But, of course, we've been saying Randy Orton's returning for forever, so who knows. We got a lot of questions from Victoria Reigns. I think that's so cute. Victoria Reigns. Mrs. Reigns, I'll call her. Victoria's got a bunch of questions, and we're going to get to all of them. Her first one I absolutely love. It's a great question. What's your favorite Samoan wrestlers of all time? This is a great question because we've been talking a lot about the Samoan heritage, of course, with Roman Reigns lately, and, of course, Rikishi getting into the Hall of Fame, which, as you know, I'm not a fan of because his career does not warrant. It's a good career. He had a good career, great career, not a Hall of Fame career. Because if you put him in, you almost have to put Too Cool in, which I'm not sure who's inducting. I know it got announced. It's either going to be Too Cool or the Usos, you would think. Not sure exactly who, but either way, it'd be a lot of fun. But Too Cool probably needs to go in as a group if you're going to put them in. I don't think they warrant going in at all. But to answer the question, my favorite Samoan wrestler of all time, I start with the guy, Coco Samoa. Great wrestler from the old school days, man. I mean, anytime that you have a wrestler that goes back to being announced by Gordon Sully. You're just a bad guy. You're just an awesome dude. I think when you're talking about the top, tippy top of the Samoan spectrum, obviously you have to start with The Rock. Probably the greatest Samoan wrestler of all time. I know he kind of gets a little bit of knock because obviously he's not full Samoan. Not a lot of these Samoan wrestlers are, of course, but he's really not. Of course, his mother was Samoan, daughter of the High Chief Peter Maivia, and of course his father was. Why do I keep saying of course? His father is Rocky Johnson. One of the blackest men of all time. I mean, just that dude was black. In every great way possible. I mean, he danced, he shucked and jived in the 80s. You know what I mean? He had the afro going. He looked great. Huge build, just awesome dude. You don't get much blacker than Rocky Johnson. So you have those two combinations, and you got The Rock. So The Rock is probably the greatest Samoan wrestler of all time. I think there are other full Samoans that had amazing careers. Yokozuna is one of my favorite Samoan wrestlers, man. Probably my favorite was Yokozuna. I mean, yes, he was heralded as a Japanese wrestler, but he was Samoan. And for his size, that guy could just move, man. He can move. The guy was incredible. He could move well. He worked well. He sold well. And he was devastating in the ring. I loved Yokozuna. Another guy just lost far too soon. Ming and the Barbarian, two other guys I really enjoyed. There was a great tag team that they had in WCW. That was Ming and the Barbarian was awesome. The Head Shrinkers, you got to talk about them. Captain Lou Albano, reining those guys in. Samu and Fatu, just great, awesome, frickin' tag team. Jesus, I lost my complete thought process there. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't leave him out. Great. Just some really cool. Peter Maivia, I brought him up earlier. He's one of my favorites as well. He was incredible. Don Morocco. Don Morocco was Samoan, the magnificent one. Yeah, that's another great Samoan wrestler. So there's a bunch of them. Samoa Joe. I guess you got to bring up Samoa Joe. I think that's an important one. The Wild Samoans. Umaga. Umaga, I think, had a better career than Rikishi, arguably. Umaga was also Rosie or Jamal from the 3-minute warning or 2-minute warning, whatever, of Eric Bischoff's design. I would put Umaga in the Hall of Fame before Rikishi. That being said, neither one of them are Hall of Fame worthy, but I'm saying Umaga's career I'd put over Rikishi's. And people are going to be like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Well, think about it a little bit. All Rikishi really had was the dance and the friggin' stink face. And, of course, I did it for The Rock. Come on. One of the worst angles of all time. And it was because they involved Rikishi. Could have been one of the coolest angles ever was who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it was Rikishi? Really? Rikishi? Yeah. So those are some of my favorite Samoans of all time. Victoria Reigns, another question. If WCW, and this is fun because she has a bunch of questions that kind of go outside of the box. A lot of fun. If WCW would have won the Monday Night Wars and put WWE out of business, what do you think the wrestler would like? What do you think wrestlers would be like, and what do you think wrestling would be like, and what do you think that we would all... Do you think we still would have gotten John Cena and Randy Orton and Batista and CM Punk, and would they all still be top guys in the WCW arena? That was really hard to read. If WCW would have won the war, which is very possible, had they have not drank their own friggin' Kool-Aid, and Eric Bischoff had not listened to, just let the inmates run the asylum, I think the power plant was essentially what the Performance Center is down for WWE now. It wasn't as refined. Of course, there wasn't NXT or anything like that, but the power plant was the place to go for a long time. And it was churning out a lot of really great wrestlers. So I think, yeah, we probably still would know who John Cena and Randy Orton and Batista and CM Punk and all those guys are. I don't know. I have no idea what their positions would have been. John Cena, I think, probably only works in WWE because he was exactly what Vince McMahon wanted. He fit exactly that mold. He is that Hulk Hogan guy. If WCW was still going today, you'd have to think Hulk Hogan would still be a part of it in some way, shape, or form, so they wouldn't need a John Cena. Randy Orton, I think he's going to succeed no matter where. He would still be a top guy if WCW would have won the war. Batista, I'm not so sure because he actually got ran out of the power plant, if I recall the story correctly. CM Punk's another guy, just like Randy Orton. I think he would have worked no matter what. But WCW would have had problems regardless because they pushed the envelope so high with the NWO stuff, and then it just kind of all disintegrated. I don't know if WCW was always destined to burn out, but their run, that 18 months, 2-year run they had, it's one of the greatest runs in all of wrestling history. I mean, was there ever a hotter organization than them at that time? Even as great as the WWE Attitude Era was that preceded that, in late 98 to 2001, all the great times that we had after, as WCW was flaming out. From mid-96 till almost the end of 2008, man, WCW was unfriggin' touchable. They were scorching hot. And it was helping both companies. It's a shame WCW couldn't maintain and they burned out completely. But it didn't necessarily have to be that way either. Some really bad management, some terrible decision makings from top to bottom in WCW. And the thing was, I always felt even when WCW was dying out, they could have turned it around. They really could have, even up to the last few months. Had they made some changes, and who knows, if Eric Bischoff would have been able to buy the company, like he reportedly, he always says that he was in talks to actually buy the company, and he had a deal in place, and then it fell apart at the last minute. Had he bought the company and been in charge of it, just him, who knows what would have happened. I think it could have turned it around. I really do. But another question, Victoria Reigns. If Chris Benoit was still alive, what do you think his role in WWE would be right now? Well, if Chris Benoit was still alive, he'd be in jail because he murdered his family. But I'm sure you mean if Chris Benoit wouldn't have done all the things that he ended up doing, murdering his family. I think there's a very good chance Chris Benoit is still wrestling if he's still alive. I can't tell you in what capacity on the card, but at the very least, he would join guys that are backstage booking, like Dean Malenko. Chris Benoit, a very good possibility he could have took over the head trainer's job at NXT. I don't think there's any question Chris Benoit would still be within the company because he was so loved within that organization. So I don't think there's any question about that. It's unfortunate everything happened the way it went, but it is what it is. What are you going to do? Victoria Reigns, another question. What do you see WWE? What do you see out of the WWE, or where do you see the WWE in the next 5 to 10 years? In the short term, I'll say in the next 5 years, they are poised for a run, a breakout run, the likes that we have not seen in a very long time. I think after WrestleMania, when some of the part-timers go away, possibly for good, I think there's a very good chance that guys like Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, even Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Wade Barrett, Bray Wyatt, Rusev, all of these guys really start, Dolph Ziggler, of course, Ryback maybe even, all start really going higher on the card and becoming this new breed of athletes and wrestlers, and they are really going to start carrying the company. And then something amazing is going to happen. Probably right around the middle of the year, we are going to get an influx of new talent. Sami Zayn, I think, is going to be up really soon. But the guy that might really change the landscape within WWE is Kevin Owens. When you watch Kevin Owens, he has this it factor about him that you see in guys like Brock Lesnar and The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. He has that type of thing about him where people gravitate towards him, and it's hard, even when he's being heinous and terrible, it's hard to fully hate the guy because he's so good, and the way he moves for his size and the way he carries himself in the ring. He has this demeanor and this ring psychology that is right now it is the best within WWE, period. Any ranks of wrestling, I think his ring psychology and the short stuff that he has shown since he has joined NXT is absolutely amazing, and I'm very excited to see what we get out of Kevin Owens. I think this guy can be the man. Now the question is he's a little older, he's like 33 or something, or 32 or something like that. And his physique, is the gut going to cut his run? It could, because Vince is not about those type of guys at all. That being said, what can negate that fact is that he's already the best-selling merchandise seller in NXT. And from what I'm reading, he's already entering like the top 10 of all WWE superstars when it comes to merchandise sales. So if this guy gets over in any role that they give him, then it's really not going to matter about his physique, and it should not halt his run at all. But potentially it could. I hope it doesn't, because I see something real. Tell me if I'm wrong here, because maybe I'm wrong, but I see something special in Kevin Owens. I really do. I can't wait. I'm very excited about that. Where are we at now? Okay. Okay. Jack Mad. By the way, which company do you think has the most talented roster? TNA, NXT, Lucha, or WWE? Well, Lucha, that's the first one eliminated right there. Lucha has a couple really, really good top guys, Johnny Mundo, Puma. I'd even pull Mil Muertes in there. A couple of the other high flyers are really good, but it's hard to really evaluate a lot of the talent roster because of the setup of the arena, because there's only one area where they do all of their high flying spots. It's this little circle outside of the ring, this little square outside of the ring that has a 5-inch pad. So they'll do stuff there that they're probably not going to do anywhere else because of how well they're protected. So it's hard to really determine the overall talent level of this of Lucha. But Cage is another guy that you got to put up there. But here's the problem. Outside of those 5 guys, there's no depth. There's a lot of fillers. There's a lot of guys with Alex Wright talent, that stuff like that. But Alex Wright in-ring ability, let me say that. But that's not necessarily going to give you a very deep and filled out roster. So I think Lucha is the first one eliminated in this discussion. Next, I think it's probably TNA is probably second, or going from fourth to first. It's Lucha, then TNA. The problem with TNA's roster is it's incredibly old. All of their top guys, their main stars, are all old. And that is hard when you're talking about a company that needs to have young guys. One of the biggest things that WWE is taking heat over is the fact that they're always pushing the same older guys. My wife looks like a Frenchman. What? Oh my God, it's just funny. She's wearing like this striped shirt. She looks French. I don't know why.
French.
You do look French.
You look like
French sailor. Where was I? Yeah, so TNA I would say is third there. For the simple fact is they just don't have any really young, great stardom there. It's a good roster, but I think its age really holds it back. Next is WWE. Now, you know what? WWE still has the best talent roster. TNA, NXT, and WWE I'm going to hold as one entity because NXT feeds into WWE, so it's one entity. So all in all, WWE has the best talent roster because you have all the young guys you have a group of 27 to 33-year-olds that are either coming from NXT or already in WWE that are going to lead a brand new era of wrestling within the WWE. So yeah, I go with WWE NXT as one entity in there. So it's 3-2-1 Lucha NXT or Lucha TNA WWE NXT. This group of five guys, this group of guys from 28, 27 to 32, 33 that are coming up or already in WWE are just amazing. So it's WWE, and it's not even a question, really. And some people might be, oh, you're crazy. But no, you look at it objectively, and that is where the most talent is. Just how it is. I already got that question. Justin Doland. Here's a possible viewer question. Do you think it's a problem that there isn't an established babyface faction for the Authority to battle? Also, do you think that the good guys on the main roster are being booked poorly? Yes and yes. Absolutely, there is a problem that there is not a big babyface faction. I think there needs to be a faction or at least a top guy that truly is, one top guy that truly is the thorn in the side of the Authority. Last year it was Daniel Bryan. This year it's kind of Daniel Bryan. It's kind of Roman Reigns. It was kind of John Cena before. There was a group of guys who fought them at Survivor Series, but I think there needs to be a faction of disgruntled performers that something very similar to what the Union was. Mick Foley, Big Show, it was the Union. It was a really cool idea. I think something like that should come back. Because that would be a really cool thing to go against the Authority. What better? The Authority and the Union. It's wonderful. It's a great idea. Maybe a different name, but something like that is exactly what needs to happen. We'll see what they decide to do. But I think that it needs... I don't even know how much longer the Authority is going to be around, so I think that's also something else you have to think about. To the question, do I think that the good guys on the main roster are being booked poorly? Not any more than the bad guys are being booked poorly. You know, I think everybody's kind of not being booked exactly how they should. I feel like the WWE is kind of in panic mode right now because I think that John Cena might be winding down faster than people think. With that being said, I think they're trying to get one more big WrestleMania in, one more WrestleMania that they know that they can control and the pieces are going to fall into place easily. And then hopefully after that, they're going to start shaking things up. At least that's kind of what it looks like to me because there are so many better booking options than the way that they have gone, especially since the Royal Rumble, yet they haven't taken them. They've gone with the logical thing or the thing that they've been talking about for months previously with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a change to the match, but it really does seem like to me that this whole Daniel Bryan thing is smoke and mirrors, and it really is simply a way for Daniel Bryan to show his respect to Roman Reigns in a match, and you can see how they teased that on SmackDown, where the mutual respect is really starting to gel between the two. So look for a match unless there's a swerve, look for a match at Fastlane with these two guys ending in a handshake or even a hug or something like that with Reigns going over. That's the way I'm seeing it because it's going to be hard to boo Roman Reigns when Daniel Bryan is embracing him but it has to, like I've said a million times, it has to be a 5-star match. If it's not, this is not going to work. So and another thing they've done with the easy booking options is the Bray Wyatt thing. You know, the Bray Wyatt Undertaker match. That is kind of the easiest match to book. So that's what they went with. It's not the best match they could have booked. because they could have gave everyone Sting and Undertaker. With the Undertaker not having the streak anymore, it would have been completely fine to have Sting and Undertaker. It would have been a terrible match, but I think it would have got people a little more excited. Brock Lesnar, Undertaker 2 is the best match they could have put on this card. It's the most logical thing. It would have made so much sense. Didn't need to be for the title. I think they could have really booked the rest of the card the entire way down so much more strongly had they have done that. But they didn't, and there's some reasons as to why. For the second straight year, John Cena not going to be even a factor in the main event picture at WrestleMania. That means something. To me, that's showing me something, that there is something going on within the WWE. There is a transition. 2 WrestleManias in a row. John Cena took on Bray Wyatt last year. Didn't put him over. Everyone thought he was going to, but didn't. This year, he should be putting over Rusev. So we'll see what happens. It's just very interesting the way that they book not only good guys, but everybody. It's just poor booking. Yet, I wouldn't even call it poor booking. I wouldn't even call it lazy booking. It's safe. It's safe, and that's the problem. That's the problem. It's safe booking, and nobody wants safe right now. You know, we're tired of safe. We're exhausted by the safe choices. We want to see a little more edge. We want to see a little bit more risk-taking, and the WWE simply doesn't want to do it. You can't really blame them for it. So it's really hard. They're protecting their position like anybody else would do in the situation. But the more of these luchas, the more of these NXT, TNA, and if TNA starts to build up, if lucha starts to build up and putting pressure on WWE, that's good for the wrestling industry. What's not good is things that are actually happening. Because the perception is that there's all these young companies that are starting to build and starting to go, and maybe they're going to make a run at WWE. That's perception. That's not the reality. The reality is TNA just lost a bigger deal with Spike Television to go to Destination America, where they're literally in less than half the houses in America that Spike is. You know, the reality is Ring of Honor, what some people feel is the best pure wrestling organization in America, is going under. It's bleeding financially, bleeding. It's having problems paying its workforce. Lucha's not pulling the ratings that it's going to need to satisfy a guy like Mark Burnett, one of the executive producers, or Robert Rodriguez. Yes, it's on Robert Rodriguez's channel, El Rey, but El Rey isn't exactly lighting the world on fire. So it's all of these things that people are seeing. Yes, there are organizations that are rising up, but they're only coming to the surface. They're not pushing. They're not knocking on WWE's door yet. And we do need that to happen, because the only competition WWE has is within itself in NXT. And how long is that going to last? We have no idea. We do know that there's a lot of great wrestlers that are coming up and still coming into NXT, coming from Ring of Honor, coming from New Japan. So that's what we have to look for. Well, that's it. That's all my questions. That's everything that everybody had this week. Great questions, everybody. Thank you, Justin Dolan. Thank you, Victoria Reigns, for all your questions. Jack Mad, great question from you. Sean Gillis, Giles, whatever. Giles, I'm going to call you Sean Giles. And Caldor, man, great questions from everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the support. As always, like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if there's a question that you want answered for next week, if there are suggestions for top 5 for next week, let me know. Hit me up in the comment sections, and I will take a look at them, and I'll read them off at the very least, or I might even use them. So let me know what you guys want to hear on this channel, and I will do the best I can to make it happen. So thank you guys, everybody. Make sure you check me out tonight. Shot from the Point. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be there with my boy Tommy C and Jeff Huffman, either live or pre-recorded, but we will have a show. So, and tomorrow night, Joe Cronin show. Still not exactly sure where that's going to be. I'm not sure if the plan that Joe put out is going to work the way he wanted, so we'll see how that goes. But Monday Night Raw review, it will happen. Just don't know where. Stay tuned for that. I'll do a video and release it. I'm sure he'll do a video and release it. So all that will come into full circle at some point, I'm sure. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next time right here on Dead on Dave Productions. Peace.